Dear students, I decided that I have to make this lecture due to the importance of the contents. I thought originally about skipping that part, okay, forgetting about it, and then working on its application. But I found out that I have to go through that because I went, remember, through module 1 and 2, and they were supposedly easier than this part. But this part is supply and demand analysis is a matter of life in economics. So we have to understand it. So I decided that I have to make a live lecture, a video recording of that matter. So I'm going to do supply and demand, and then the following online lecture will be applications of supply and demand, and then after that it will be elasticity. Because I said, why the rush? Why should I keep running in the course and the very important basics are not understood? Because this is the foundation of your understanding of economics. Without understanding this foundation, then forget it. You will never be an economist. It's like building up on a foundation, on a base that is so fragile. Eventually, your whole building will collapse. Okay? So I'm going to go through that, and inshallah, next time I'm going to go through the applications of supply and demand, and then after that, I'm going to go through the elasticities, as the three are vital. In addition to module 1 and module 2 too, they are vital. Economic systems, what are the economic systems? Why do we talk about supply demand? Because we have something, first of all, called the market. What is market? Okay, any situation that brings together buyers and sellers of goods or services or inputs, by the way. But here he's talking about the output market. Okay, remember, producers produce goods or services. Okay, but remember also we have a market for inputs. Okay, so as long as you can see here, the word situation. You see here, he did not say any place. Why he did not say situation and not place? Because if he says place, he has to say either any place, either physical or virtual. Okay? Remember, when you buy online, you are buying from a market because there is a supply of a product and there is a demand for that product and there is a price for that product. But the question is, do you go to a certain place or you are staying at the convenience of your own home? And that's why here they say situation. Okay, as long as you are faced with a situation where buyers meet sellers, whether online or physically, okay, in order to discuss the selling of a good or a service, it means by definition this is a market. Types of economies, okay, we have what types of countries and other types of political systems, all that applies. So you can say type of economies or types of political systems because they are very much interrelated. In the modern world economy, there is a range of economic systems. We know that. The most important one of them and the most dominant one of them almost, I don't want to say dominant because we have the mixed economy, but the most dominant is the market economy. What is the market economy? What is the market country? Okay, it is the economy where economic decisions, okay, the decisions made by the different agents of the economy, from the government level all the way to the different individuals and the economic agents in the country, producers, consumers, and so on, and the traders and so on, are decentralized. Decentralized, it means far away from the government. It means that the government do not do them. It means that the government do not do them. Individuals do them. The government doesn't tell people what to do. Okay? So it is an economy, market economy, where economic decisions are decentralized, far away from the centralized. It means it comes from the government. Resources are owned by private individuals. People can own resources, and the businesses supply goods and the services based on demand. If there is a high demand, we will produce a lot. If there is low demand, we will produce a little. Okay? In the modern world, there is a range of economic systems. This is a competitive market. Okay, now what is a competitive market? Okay, sometimes they call it market economy, by the way. Sometimes they call it free market economy. Sometimes they call it perfectly competitive economy. All these are names for the same thing. It is a market in which there is a large number of buyers and sellers, okay, so that no one can control the market price. Remember, I gave you the characteristics of the competitive market, I think, when we studied the selected topics or environmental economics. I don't know, we have like 10 or 8 characteristics. The most important 4 are the following. Okay, easy entry to the market and access from the market. The most important one is large number of buyers and sellers. How large is large? When we say large, we mean that the number of people, whether they are producers or consumers, are so much to the extent that not an individual producer or not an individual consumer can set the price. But the price of the product is determined on the collective powers of demand and supply. Okay? The collective powers of demand and supply, which is the demand by every consumer and the supply by every producer, will determine the price of the commodity. That we say large number of buyers and sellers. How large is large? Large means that we don't have individuals in general do not exist. Okay, they have no power in fixing prices or fixing anything. Okay, number one, homogeneous products, because usually we have competition. People compete when they have almost similar products. That's why we call it competitive market. You are not buying, you are not selling, we are not talking about the market, the commodity of tomatoes versus the commodity of automobiles. Okay? Because here there is no competition between these two markets. Okay? But tomatoes and cucumbers, there is competition. Tomatoes and the meat, there is competition. Tomatoes and milk, there is competition. Because they are similar products. Tomatoes and tomatoes, because tomatoes, remember, tomatoes and tomatoes themselves are supposedly the same commodity, but with different qualities. Okay, so here we're talking about homogeneous. It means that once the producer, homogeneous here, it means once the producer takes his product or her product to the market, and that product is mixed up with other producers' product, the producer cannot come and say, this is my product. It is impossible to determine that. This is called homogeneous product. Easy entry to the industry. If you want to become a producer, you are welcome. Nobody will prevent you. If you were originally a producer and you want to leave the market, nobody will prevent you. Nobody cares. You are one out of millions. Okay? And equal access to information. These are the four important characteristics. Equal access to information means that when you want to obtain a piece of information about something, you can get it easily and usually free of charge. Okay? Remember, farmers in the United States, and even here now, they receive information about prices and markets and where to sell and where to buy through their mobile phones. And in the past in USA, it was through the radio. Okay, they have a station that tells the farmer every day what is going on that specific day. So the competitive market, which I told you, the free market, the perfectly competitive market, the pure market, okay, is a market in which there is a large number of buyers and sellers so that no one can control the price. Free economy, it is a market in which the government does not intervene in any way. Intervene يعني تتدخل. Okay, it means that the government is the system, the political system is not centralized. The government is not the decision maker. Okay, the government is a decision maker, but in other things, not in the things that we consume. In very important things such as infrastructure, roads, providing electricity utilities and water utilities, and so on. Rail services. Okay, that's what they are doing. Forget about the picture. I told you I'm pissed of that picture because we are not a planned economy anymore. Planned, sometimes they call it command economy, sometimes they call it communist economy. These are all the names for this type of economy. It is an economy where economic decisions are passed down from the government authority and where resources are owned by the government. Here, individuals are not allowed to own anything. Everything is owned by the government makes the decisions. Okay? Egypt was a planned economy between 1952 and 1970 during the Abdel Nasser era. When Abdel Nasser died, the system, the communist system, they call it at that time socialist system, because socialist again is another name for the word planned economy, died. Okay? And the whole of the communist system worldwide died in the year 1989 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. Okay? Remember the perestroika of that they adopted and the collapse of the communist system. And as a result, all the economies that were under the control of the Soviet Union collapsed. And that's why you see now, instead of having a country called Yugoslavia, you have Black Mountains, you have Serbia, you have Herzegovina, you have Black Mountain, you have so many countries, all of them, Croatia, all that is actually was one country before called Yugoslavia. The same thing with Czechoslovakia. Now we have Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Slovenia. Okay, 3 countries. Okay, and so on for the rest of the world. Look at Russia itself. We have Russia, we have Belarus, we have Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all the Khanat. They are following they were originally parts of the Soviet Union. Okay, resources and businesses are owned by the government. Remember, Egypt before 52, it was a monarchy. Okay, we had a king, a complete market system. Actually, we were capitalist system, not even market system, which is the extreme version of the market system. Okay, we were capitalist, just like USA in before they adopted and they had equal opportunity of employer and human rights and all these kind of things. Okay, and this area of Egypt history disappeared. Actually, this area between 1952 and 1970 contributed a lot to the destruction and deterioration and less development of the country. I'm sorry to say that, yeah. What is the difference between a socialist system and a communist system? In a communist system, there is no God. So you cannot go to mosque, you cannot go to a church, you cannot go to a synagogue if you are Muslim, Christian, or Jewish. Okay, in the socialist system, you can go to mosques, you can go to churches, you can go to synagogues. Okay, but it is the same principle or the same principles. Government decides what goods and services will be produced and what prices will be charged by them. Okay, there is no market. The word market doesn't exist. Okay, the market is just the place that you go to buy the item. That's all. If you find it, you are happy. If you don't find it, which happens the most of the times, by the way, to find anything, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. You can have money in this type of economy if it happens that you have money, that your like me, for example, your father doesn't work in the country, but there is nothing to buy. Okay, there is nothing to buy, and you cannot complain, because if you complain, you go to jail. Governments decides what methods of production will be used and how much workers will be paid. Okay, actually, according to that system, the planned or the command system or the socialist system or the communist system, okay, is that everybody gets paid. Okay, which is actually, it is everybody poor. Okay, it means that everybody's poor. I can make everybody poor. It's very easy. Okay, I'm gonna give everybody little, whether you work or you do not work. Everybody works. There is no unemployment in this type of economy. Everybody's unemployed and everybody's suffering because the amount of money he receives or she receives or they receive is very, very little. Okay, but anyway, there is nothing to complain about because there are no variety in the market. There are no products in the market, and nobody can complain. And no wonder why the communist system collapsed. Unfortunately, President Sadat, okay, he was so bright, but he did not figure that out. Unfortunately, he was so scared that communism comes back to Egypt. And as a result, he released the Muslim Brotherhood terrorists from jails in order for them to fight the communism. And he ended up being shot by the Muslim extremists. One big mistake by President Sadat, almost similar to the terrible mistake that Abdel Nasser made by adopting socialism. Primary distinction here in the economic system. The primary distinction between a free market economy and a command market economy is the degree to which the government determines what should be done in the economy. What should be produced, what are the prices, and how much should be charged. Okay? The more involved the government is, the more the economy will move into the direction of a command economy. The less the government is involved, the more you are going towards the free market system. In the real world, most economies in the real world are mixed. Mixed, it means somewhere between command and market. But it is not command plus market divided by 2. It is command plus market divided by a number. That number depends on how close the country is to the market system, which is the extreme to the left, close to the capitalist system. Okay, and how close you are to the command system, which is the extreme to the right. Okay, by the way, capitalist system also disappeared. There is nothing called the capitalist system. In the capitalist system, okay, if I'm an owner of a factory and if you are sick for 2 days, I'm gonna fire you. And you have no right. Why I'm gonna fire you? Because I'm not gonna wait for you till you recover. I'm gonna hire somebody else. And there is nothing as such as labor syndicates or human rights or freedom of speech or anything like that. Okay, now all that disappeared. USA was the capitalist country of the world at that time. And that system disappeared, died just like communism. Okay? Market system is a system that is close to the capitalist system, but not the capitalist system. The capitalist system is an ugly system, just like the communist system that is an ugly system. Mixed system, it means somewhere in between. Okay? So the mixed, they combine elements of command and the market at the same time. It depends on what country you're talking about. If you talk about France, for example, France is a little close. It's a market system that is a little close to the command system. The same thing about Britain. The same thing about Sweden and all of Scandinavia. Denmark, Finland, and Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway. Okay? Actually, they represent the core of the mixed system. Okay, all the countries I mentioned, they represent that. We are a mixed system also, okay, but a little closer to the market system. Okay, we are no different actually from these countries. We are almost similar, but as I see the government now, what the government now is doing, we are going far away from that. The government is trying to take its hands off so many things, and they leave it to the private sector. So most economies are mixed. They combine elements of command and market system. What is demand? Now, after this introduction, what is demand? Now we're going to talk about demand, and after we finish demand, we're going to talk about supply till the end of the 35 slides. Demand for goods and services. Okay? Usually when we say demand, we say demand for something. And when we say supply, we say supply of something. Okay? Demand is the relationship between the price of a certain good or service and the quantity of that good or service someone is willing and able to buy. Here, your ability to make a purchase is a must in the demand relationship. Because if, remember, for example, are we, let us say that myself and you guys are on the demand function for Ferraris. All of us like Ferraris. Okay? Forget about Ferraris. Probably some people say that we are not interested in automobiles. Are we on the demand function of caviar, a very expensive type of seafood? And the answer is no. Not because we hate caviar. Probably you guys did not even try caviar. Okay, but because you cannot afford it. Okay, so in that case you cannot say that you are in that demand. Because you don't tell me, for example, everybody demands a Mercedes. Yeah, everybody dreams of having a Mercedes, but very few can afford a Mercedes. The very few who can afford a Mercedes are on the demand function for Mercedes. Okay, so the word here, willing, means that you want to, you have the desire, and the able, you have the money. Okay, remember willing. Let's look at a person like me, okay, or a person like my wife. Okay. We are able to buy the most expensive bikini, okay, where women dress that to go to the sea. But the question is, is my wife willing to buy a bikini? Okay, you know, she's old anyway. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying she's conservative or not conservative. Forget about that. I'm talking about, do you think that she will buy? If she's willing to buy, if the bikini is for free, do you think she will get it? Okay, yes, she can afford everything, but she's not willing to buy it. Okay, alcoholics. People can afford, there are people who can afford alcoholics, but they are not willing to buy alcoholics. Okay, this is so here you have to have the desire, this is willing to buy, and the able, it means you have the money. What is the price? This is what the buyers pay. What are the buyers pay for a unit of the specified good or service? Price here, it means unit price of the item. What is the quantity demand? Remember, demand here is a function. Okay, as it says here, relationship. Okay, we are talking about a function here. Okay, where the quantity demanded is part of that function. Function, it means we have a dependent variable and a number of independent variables. When something happens to the independent variables, the dependent variable will change accordingly. Here we have quantity demanded is a dependent variable, and the own price of the commodity, the price of the closest substitutes, the price of the closest complement, income, taste of population, religion, customs, tradition, all these are factors, independent variables affecting the quantity demand. So the quantity demand is the dependent variable of the demand function. It represents the total number of units of a good or a service consumers wish to purchase at a given price. Okay? Which we measure it, remember, we measure it horizontally. because remember what I told you before, it should be measured vertically, but it is measured horizontally. Okay, and we put the own price here of the commodity. PO to indicate own price. Okay, and then the demand looks like that. Okay, what is the law of demand? It is common sense. We call it law of demand, but it is common sense. The common relationship that a higher price leads to a lower quantity demanded. Remember, a lower quantity demanded, not a lower demand, please. Okay, a lower quantity demanded لو سمحتوا. Not lower demand. Lower demand is wrong. Okay, lower quantity demanded of a certain good or service, and a lower price leads to a higher quantity demanded. Again, ceteris paribus. Everything else remains the same. All of the factors affecting the quantity demanded are assumed to be held constant. Because if they are not, if the price goes down, okay, and my income went down, I got fired from my job, so I'm unemployed. Do you think I'm going to buy more of the product because the price went down? If the price went down and I read an article that, for example, this item is not healthy to consume, so I decided I'm not going to consume it. So every time when we say that the law of demand, we have negative or inverse relationship between the quantity demanded and the price, it means that as the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, and the price goes down, the demand goes up. We have to say ceteris paribus. Everything else remains unchanged. Other things being equal, other things remain the same. Demand schedule. Here we are displaying, remember I told you here in the past we can display the demand in so many forms. As a curve, or as a table, okay, or as a function. Okay, as a function, it means you have to use algebra to determine equilibrium and to study the relationship. A schedule, you can graph it. It's usually linear. Okay, جدول يعني. Okay, you have the price in one commodity as one column, and the quantity demand is another column, and for every point you put you put quantity demanded horizontally, price vertically, and then you assign the point that indicates any point in that sphere of the quantity demanded and the price indicates some amount consumed given a certain price. So demand schedule, جدول الطلب, is a table that shows the quantity demanded of a certain good or service at a range of prices. Example, prices measured in dollars per gallons of gasoline. The quantity demanded is measured in millions of gallons. Remember, we have to have unified units. When you would say that I'm going to measure the quantity demanded in millions of gallons, it means that the unit of measurement that is used on the horizontal axis where the quantity demanded is measured must be all in millions of gallons. If I say the price of gasoline, which is measured vertically, is measured in dollars, then everything is dollar per gallon, which is the unit price of gallon. A gallon, by the way, is 3.6 or 3.7 liters, and sometimes they approximate it as 4, and there is something called the British gallon and American gallon. It's a long story, but in general it is not less than 3.6 liter, and it is not more than 4 liters. This is the gallon. And this is an example of a demand schedule. When the price was 1, the quantity demanded was, when the price was $1 per gallon, the quantity demanded was in the economy, was definitely in the economy. How did I know? Millions of gallons. There is no individual consumer that can consume millions of gallons. Okay, and the story, as you can see, as the price goes up, okay, the quantity demanded goes down. Okay, here actually as the price goes up, but actually he is making the quantity demanded goes down. What is a demand curve? Another way of expressing the demand, but in a graph. A graphic representation of the other one was a table representation. This is a graphic presentation of the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a certain good or service, with the price measured on the vertical axis and the quantity demanded measured horizontally. And this is the only thing that in economics that I do not know why. They say that it is a common mistake that all economists agree on. Okay. For example, the figure to the left, with price per gallon on the vertical axis and the quantity on the horizontal axis, the demand schedule shows that as price rises, quantity demanded decreases and vice versa. Remember, ceteris paribus. The downward slope of the demand curve indicates the law of demand, which is what? We have an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. As the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. As the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up, ceteris paribus. What is assumed in the demand curve? Ceteris paribus, okay? A Latin phrase meaning other things being equal, other things being the same, okay? Other factors, other independent variables are assumed to be constant at the time of analysis, okay? Any given demand or supply curve is based on the ceteris paribus assumption. that all else is held constant. Why do we do that? Because when we graph the demand, remember here I am talking about a curve. So I'm using a two-dimensional graph. Okay, quantity demanded measured horizontally, price measured vertically, or quantity supplied measured horizontally and the price measured vertically. What about the rest of the factors affecting either the quantity demanded or the quantity supplied? They are assumed to be constant, that's why they don't appear in our analysis. When changing one variable in a function, example demand for some product, okay, we assume everything else to be held constant. A demand curve or a supply curve is a relationship between two variables only, and only two variables. When all other variables are assumed to be equal. Okay? If all else is not held equal, then the laws of supply and the laws of demand will not necessarily hold. The law of supply tells you that other things being equal, as the price goes up, more will be supplied. As the price goes down, less will be supplied. Okay? So this is exactly like when we say in Islam, لا تقربوا الصلاة, don't pray. Okay? There is something called while you are drunk. Okay? So here, if you say that we have inverse relationship without saying that other factors affecting the quantity demanded remain constant, it means the statement is wrong. What affects the demand curve? These are the factors now affects the demand curve. Number one is willingness to purchase, the desire to buy the item. Okay? Willingness to purchase, استعدادك to share item suggests that a desire to buy. Okay? And it depends on what economists call tastes and preferences. You like the item for some reason. Could be because of the color, the features, the characteristics, the smell. Could be because of the taste. It could be because of anything. Okay? The design, it could be because of anything. If you neither need nor want something, you won't be willing to buy it. You will not be willing to buy it. Ability to purchase, we call it effective demand. It means that you have the purchasing power to buy the item. It suggests that income is important. Professors are usually able to afford better housing and better transportation than students because they have more income. Demand curves are, here's a continuation of the story. Prices of related goods. So this is number 3. Okay? Related goods could be substitute products or complement products. Substitute products, these are the things that if you find an item expensive, you can buy, let us say, for example, like beef and lamb, okay, or fish and meat, or fish and chicken, depending on your preference, okay? These are substitute products, or the things that go with the product. If you buy beef, for example, what goes with beef? You know, nobody ever buys beef and eat beefs alone. You never see that anywhere in the world, okay? You have rice with it, you have vegetables with it, you have soup with it, anything like that. It's called the complement. It complements your meal. بتكمل أكلتك. Prices of related goods can also affect demand. If you need a new car, the price of a Honda may affect your demand for a Ford. Okay, why? Because Ford is a substitute for Honda. Okay, size or composition of the population. Okay, the more children a family has, the greater their demand for clothing. Okay, they will have more demand for clothing because we have more. Why here we say more demand, not more quantity demanded? Because population is a demand shifter. Population, we never measure population or the price of related goods or taste or preference or ability to buy or income. We never measure that in the graph. We never do that. Okay? And that's why we say affecting their demand. So ما يجيش حد يقول لي, somebody comes and say, you say demand, not quantity demand. No, it is demand. It is correct to be demand. The more driving age children a family has, okay, the greater their demand for car insurance and the less for diapers and baby formula. Here they tell you that if you have an individual family, a household that has a number of children in the family are in the driving age. What is the driving age? It varies from one country to the other. Here in Egypt it is 18. In USA, in rural areas, it is 16. Okay? But in towns, I think it is still 18. Okay? So it varies from one country to the other. So if I am having kids, for example, and my kids are in the driving age, definitely I will spend a lot of my money on car insurance. I will demand more car insurance. Why? Because inshallah, my kids will make a lot of accidents. Okay? And definitely I'm going to spend less on diapers and baby formula because my kids are no longer babies needing diapers or a baby formula. Continuation, this is income, okay? Very important. Example for the case of automobiles. Initial demand for automobile, here remember we have the quantity demanded of automobiles measured vertically. Quantity here means in numbers, okay? Could be in thousands, could be in hundreds, we do not care. And the price could be, as it says here, he put the price explicitly. $28,000, $26,000, okay? Remember the price goes up and the quantity demanded increases in that direction and the price increases in that direction, okay? The original demand is D0, which is here, okay? Now, if income goes up, the demand will shift to the right to D1. And if the income drops, the demand will shift to the left to D2. When the demand shifts to the right, we say that we have an increase in demand. Okay? What does it mean, increase in demand? As you can see here, look at these 2 points here. This one and this one. The price of the automobile is still 20,000 pounds. Okay? At D0, people were demanding 18 automobiles. Because income went up at the same price, the price did not change, we are demanding 20. So an increase in demand is a shift of the demand curve to the right as a result of it changing one of the demand shifters, which are anything on the demand function other than the own price. Okay? That will make the quantity demanded increases despite that the price is the same. This is called increase in demand. The opposite is decrease in demand. It means the quantity demanded will go down for the same price as a result of a decrease in demand. We call all the factors that I mentioned, except the own price of the commodity, we call them demand shifters. If you include the own price of the commodity, which means you include all of the independent variables along the demand function, then we call those demand determinants. So all the factors, all of the independent variables, including the own price, are called demand determinants. If you exclude the own price of the commodity and you talk about the rest of the independent variables affecting the quantity demanded in the demand function, you call them demand shifters. Okay? At point Q here, there is nothing to explain actually. I'm not going to go through it. This is what I just said. At point Q, the price is $20,000 per car. The quantity of cars demanded is, remember the quantity demanded, the quantity of cars demanded, the quantity demanded of automobiles, not demand. Huh? If you say demand, it's wrong. D0 also shows how the quantity of a car demanded would change as a result of a higher or lower price. For example, if the price of a car rose to 22,000, the quantity demanded would decrease to 17,000 at point R. There is nothing here to say, but remember here what I just said here. What I said here is vital. Okay? Because people get confused about what is quantity demanded and what is demand. Quantity demanded is the dependent variable in the demand function. When you say demand, this is the whole demand you're talking about. Okay? That contains the quantity demanded along with all of the demand determinants. Okay? From the own price all the way to customs, norms, and tradition. This is an example of income. Okay? Assume the economy expands and increases many people's income. Suppose that the economy, you have a country where people are doing great. The country is developed. People work and they earn a lot of money. So incomes went up. Okay, in that case, they can afford automobiles. With cars, it's still at 20,000 pounds, but the higher incomes, despite that, the price is the same. But since that incomes went up, the quantity demanded increases to 20 million automobiles. It is in the graph here. Remember, D0 is the original, D1 is the new demand for automobiles when incomes go up, and D2 is the demand for automobiles when incomes go down. As a result of the higher income levels, the demand curve shifts to the right. We have an increase in demand. Yani more quantity demanded given the same price. Or a decrease in demand, it means that a shift of the demand to the left, which is less quantity demanded as a result of a decrease in any factor other than the own price. Shift in demand happens when a change in some economic factor other than the own price of the commodity. When you say the price, it means the own price. Causes a different quantity to be demanded at every price. Okay, remember when I explained the increase in demand and the decrease in demand, what happened is that in the increase of demand case, the quantity demanded goes up despite that the price is the same. When we say decrease in demand, we say that, which is a shift to the left of the demand curve, we say the quantity demanded goes down given the same price of the commodity. Okay, so it happens when a change in some economic factor other than the price causes a different quantity to be demanded at every price. For example, changing tastes or preferences. If tastes, we do not like the product anymore, the demand will shift to the left. We like it very much, it will shift to the right. Composition of population. If you have lots of youth, probably the demand, let us say, sports automobiles. Okay, this is the composition. If you have a lot of old people, they will demand probably health insurance, more health insurance, okay, and less automobiles. Changes in the prices of related goods, substitutes or complements. If the price of a substitute product goes up, if, for example, you are talking about the demand for beef, so you have the quantity demand of beef measured horizontally, the price of beef measured vertically, okay? Suppose that the price of lamb went down, then the demand for beef will increase, will shift to the right, because this is a substitute. Sorry, the demand for, if the price of lamb went down, then the demand for beef will shift to the left, okay? Because now there are two substitute products, and lamb now is relatively cheaper, okay, because the price of which dropped as compared to the price of beef. As a result, the demand for beef will shift to the left, and the opposite is true. Let us say that when we eat beef, you eat rice with it. It complements beef. In that case, if the price of rice goes up, okay, the demand for beef will shift to the left. Okay, to say that you have, despite that the price of beef is the same, the quantity demanded of beef will go down as a result of having the price of the complementary product rice increased. Expectations about future prices. If I expect that the price will go up for the item I'm interested in, the demand, okay, in that case, the demand will increase now. It will shift to the right. So if I expect, for example, that the price of beef will go up in the future, the demand for beef in that case will shift to the right now. Why? Because the quantity demand will go up, will increase, despite that the price is the same. If I expect that the price in general will go down, okay, in that case, the demand will shift to the left, because we're gonna demand anything, waiting for the price to drop. Goods or services terms, the demand for a product can be affected by changes in the prices of related goods, such as substitutes and complements. This is what I just said. Substitutes, so these are goods or services that can be used in place of one another. Complements, these are the goods or services that are used together because the use of one improves the use of the other. I already said that already. I'm just to read the slide. What are inferior goods? What are normal goods? Most goods in general are considered normal. What is a normal good? I'm going to talk about that first. It is the good or service that people tend to buy more of if their incomes go up. Inferior goods, these are the types of commodities that people tend to buy less of as income goes up. So for the normal goods, which are the majority, okay, this is the demand increases, okay, when a consumer's income increases and the demand decreases otherwise. Inferior, these are the types of goods that the demand decreases when consumers' income increases, and vice versa. Okay, example of that is lentils in Egypt, because lentils is usually the food of the poor. Okay, normal good is almost everything that you consume. Okay, if you want to know what is normal for you, what is inferior for you, imagine that when your father increases your allowance. If when your father increases your allowance, you do not consume the item, it means inferior. If when your father increases your allowance, you demand more of the item, it means it is normal. And these are all the factors, okay? Here they put all the factors, every one in yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 factors. 6 factors that can shift the demand curves are summarized in the charts above. The direction of the arrows indicates whether the demand curve shifts represent an increase in demand or a decrease in demand. I already mentioned all that. Okay, and the graph is actually self-explanatory. It doesn't need elaboration. Now we're going to do the same thing for supply, which actually the result will be synonymous. The only thing difference is that the determinants of we have the quantity supplied is a function of a number of factors. One of them is again the own price of the commodity. Okay, and again we have demand, supply determinants and supply shifters. Supply determinants, these are all the factors affecting the quantity supply, such as input prices, such as technology level, such as weather, such as governmental policies, as we will see. And so these are all called demand supply determinants, including the own price. If you exclude the own price from the story, then the rest is called the supply shifters. What is supply? The relationship between the price of a, and again we can make it in the form of a function, in the form of a graph, and in the form of a schedule, exactly like the demand. It is the relationship between the price of a certain good or service and the quantity of that good or service the producers are willing to offer for sale. Okay, مستعدين يحطوها للبيع. Law of supply, it is the same thing. The common relationship that a higher price leads to a higher quantity supplied of a certain good or service, and a lower price leads to a lower quantity supplied, etc. Spares. Remember, here we are talking about law of supply. We are talking about the relationship between the own price of the commodity and the quantity supplied, not supply. What is quantity supplied? It is a dependent variable of the function. It is the total number of units of a good or service producers are willing to supply at a given price. Is supply the same as quantity supplied? طبعا, of course not. Supply is not the same as the quantity supplied. Supply refers to the curve. The quantity supplied refers to the specific point on the curve, which is the demand, which is the dependent variable of the function. And the same thing for the demand, by the way. What is supply schedule or curve? This is okay. If I display the data, okay, this is the prices and the quantity, and again I measure quantity supplied horizontally, price vertically, for a reason that we never know. Okay, why we reverse? We don't know. Okay. If you display that in a table, it will be called the supply schedule. If you put it in a figure, graph like that, it will be called a curve. Okay, so here a table that shows the quantity demand, not demanded, definitely. Okay, this is wrong. It is quantity supplied. Okay, for a certain good or service at a range of prices. Supply curve, it is a graphic representation of the relationship between the price and the quantity supplied, as it says, of a certain good or a service with price on the vertical axis and the quantity horizontally. Factors affecting supply. Okay, and they're going to give you the factors one by one. Okay, if other factors relevant to supply do change, then the entire supply will shift. As I told you, just like the demand. A shift in supply means a change in the quantity supplied at the same price. The same thing I talked about demand. No difference whatsoever. The only thing here is that you have a positive relationship between the quantity supplied and the price of the commodity, and in the demand you have a negative relationship between both. Okay? Increase in supply is a movement of the supply curve to the right, and increase in demand, a decrease in supply will be a shift of the supply curve to the left. Okay? Given anything that it changes in the supply shifters other than the own price of the commodity, with the same meaning of an increase in supply and a decrease in supply, just like the demand case. Okay? Production costs affect supply. If other factors relevant to supply do change, okay, then the entire supply will shift. A shift in supply means a change in the quantity supplied at the same price. Okay? Production costs affect supply. If a firm faces lower costs of production, it means input prices went down, for example, while the prices for the goods and the services they produce remain unchanged, the firm profit will go up, definitely, because total revenue minus total cost. Cost of production went down, then given that total revenue is constant, then profit will go up. When a firm's profit increases, it is more motivated to produce output. Now we have more incentive. Hey guys, we can make more money by producing more and selling more goods and services. Since the more it produces, the more profit it will earn. Okay? When cost of production fall, a firm will tend to supply a larger quantity at any given price. Okay? Why? Because now it costs us the firm less to produce it. Okay? This can be shown by the supply curve shifting to the right. Common sense. It doesn't need a genius here. Shift in the supply curve due to increase the production. The opposite. He's talking about the opposite here. Please, guys, do not make the arrows. You see the arrows that he's having here? Do not make them look like this. Please, I beg you. When the supply shift to the left, make the arrow like this. Because it is a horizontal movement, not a vertical movement. Okay, this is wrong. The arrow that looks like going up like a rocket, this is wrong. Okay? But because people understand it is horizontal movement, they just stop talking about it. But this is wrong. It could be done wrong in the graph for some reason. Okay? Because remember, the professor doesn't do that type of thing. There is a personal technician that does that kind of thing. Okay? That designs this PowerPoint. It's not, professors do not do that, by the way. It's not like here. We are poor people here. Okay? Over there, they go to professionals. So if a firm faces higher cost of production, the cost of production went up, then it will earn lower profits because same revenue minus bigger cost, it means less profit at any given selling price of the product. As a result, a higher cost of production typically causes a firm to supply a smaller quantity at any given price. Okay, in this case, the supply curve shifts to the left. Okay. These graphs list the various factors, just like when we did with demand. Okay, here we have factors that will lead to the supply shifters that will make the supply shift to the right, having increase in supply, more quantity supplied given the same price, favorable natural conditions for production. For example, a farmer with excellent weather, less pests and diseases, okay, a fall in input prices, okay, seeds prices went down, for example, or chemicals or fertilizers prices went down, improved technology. Remember, technology will make you be able to produce more given the same type and amount of resources. Lower product taxes, this is a governmental policy, okay, or more, okay, populations, less costly regulations means that, for example, subsidies, okay, or discounts on some factors of production. Any governmental policy that will make that producer produce more. The opposite is here in the left, okay. Supply factors also affected by subsidies. Okay, what is a subsidy? It is a governmental payment help to the firm to encourage more production of some goods and services. From a firm's perspective, it reduces the cost of production. The government is going to give you something for free in order to encourage the producer to produce more of it. That's all. Okay, here less costly regulation could be less taxes, for example. Okay, remember we have VAT, value-added tax. If the value-added tax is designed to tell the producer the more they earn, the more they sell, the more they earn, the more the government will take. This is something that discourages them from selling more because now the more they sell, taxes are, they call it classes, different classes. So probably if you increase your volume of sales beyond a certain level, probably you will go into another class of taxes that you will pay more. Just like when you consume electricity, remember you move from one class to another, من شريحة لشريحة. Okay. Now we talk about equilibrium. Now the supply will marry the demand. In that case, we measured horizontally. When we say quantity of gasoline in millions of gallons, we mean the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied, because we have a supply of gasoline and a demand for gasoline. Okay, D and S. And here is the own price of gasoline. Graphs for demand and supply curves both have price on the vertical axis and the quantity on the horizontal axis. Quantity here means the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied. Okay, or. Okay. The demand curve and supply curve for a particular good or service can appear in the same graph. We know that already. Okay? Because remember, you have to use the same units of measurement. If you measure demand in quantity demanded in millions of gallons, then the quantity supplied also must be measured in millions of gallons. It cannot be measured in thousands of gallons. It's a mistake because you have to have a unified measurement, a unified scale of measurement. You cannot say, okay, quantity demand is measured in millions of gallons, but the quantity supplied is measured in thousands. No, ya habibi, you cannot do that. This is wrong. They must be measured in the same units, which are millions of gallons. Together, demand and supply determine the price and the quantity that will be brought and sold in that market. What does it mean when the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied aren't the same? Okay, suppose that here, remember at equilibrium here, at this point right here, the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. QD is equal to QS at equilibrium. Usually we denote it like QD star and QS star to indicate equilibrium. Okay. Okay, and in that case, this will be the price equilibrium, usually is called P star. Okay, suppose that the quantity demanded is not equal to the quantity supplied. Suppose that the quantity demanded is more than the quantity supplied. You will have a deficit. Suppose that the quantity supplied is more than the quantity demanded. You will have a surplus. This will happen if the price is one time below equilibrium or above equilibrium. Remember, depending on what I forgot what I said first. Okay, For a surplus, it means that the quantity supplied is more than the quantity demanded. It means the price is above equilibrium. For a deficit, it means the quantity demanded is more than the quantity supplied. It means that the price is below equilibrium. Okay? Deficit or shortage, they are the same thing. Okay? Excess supply, or as we said that, surplus. Situation where the quantity demanded in a market is less than the quantity supplied. Okay? Because the price is higher than equilibrium. And that's what we have here. It occurs at prices, okay, above equilibrium, not below equilibrium. Excess supply will happen when the prices are above equilibrium. So this is wrong. Excess supply is a situation where the quantity demanded in a market, okay, is less than the quantity supplied, correct. It occurs at prices above equilibrium. Okay, sorry for that. Equilibrium, it means that the price and the quantity combinations where supply equals demand. Okay, supply and demand intersect. This is equilibrium. Shortage and excess demand. Okay, shortage or excess demand. Situation where the quantity demanded in a market is greater than the quantity supplied. Okay, this will happen when the price is below equilibrium. Okay, as you can see here. Generally, anytime the price of a good is below the equilibrium price, incentive built into the structure of demand and supply will create pressure on the price to rise. When you have, for example, excess demand, there will be pressure will happen to move the demand upward. Sorry, to move the price upward. Okay, more demand than supply. It means that more quantity demanded than quantity supplied, then will be pressure on the price to go up. Similarly, and the same thing, the price of a certain good above equilibrium will have pressures to make the price goes down for the previous graph. Equilibrium happens where demand and supply intersect. Equilibrium is the price and the quantity combinations where supply equals demand. Okay, whether you say supply equal demand or the quantity demanded equal quantity supplied, they are correct. Because remember, the supply function or the supply curve intersects with the demand curve. It means that supply and demand are equal at the point of intersection. Okay, and at the point of intersection, if you go down, you will see that quantity demanded equal quantity supplied. So in that case, either one is correct. Equilibrium price is the only price where the quantity supplied in the market equals the quantity demanded. Equilibrium quantity, the quantity both supplied and demanded at the equilibrium price, they are both equal. Equilibrium and economic efficiency. Okay, now when we have efficiency, it means that the resources that we have, the inputs that we have are not wasted. Okay, we are using the resources in the correct manner. Equilibrium is important to create both a balanced market and an efficient market. Efficient market means that resources that are used in the production in this market, the gifts of God, are not wasted. Everything goes into the right place. Okay, right place, high demand, inputs go in the right demand, in the high demand direction. Low demand, inputs run away and resources run away from that low demand thing. Efficiency, when the optimal amount of goods are produced and consumed, minimizing waste. This is efficiency. Efficiency in the demand and supply model has the same basic meaning. They mean the same. The economy, the country as a whole, is getting as much benefit as possible from its scarce resources, from its available resources, and all the possible gains from trade will be achieved. Okay, everybody's happy. Now changes in equilibrium. Number one, he's making rules that is probably for somebody that is a little in terms of just to help you if you don't want to use your mind to think. Okay, using the 4 steps process, just like he showed you before. Draw demand and supply curves showing the market before the economic change took place. Now we're going to, given the demand schedule data and the supply schedule data, graph the demand, graph supply, and then you will find that they intersect at a certain point. Decide whether the economic change being analyzed affects demand or supply. You have to, first of all, in order to decide what will happen to equilibrium, the number 2 step, which is vital. You have to think, is the variable I gave you in the question a demand shifter or a supply shifter? Number 3, determine whether the effect on demand or supply causes the demand or supply or the curve to shift to the right or to the left. Now, for example, I knew that cost of production, it is a supply shifter. If it goes up, will the supply curve shift to the right or to the left? It will shift to the left. So now this is step 3. Number 4, identify the new equilibrium or the new intersection point of whether the new demand or the new supply, depending on which one moved to the left or to the right, and then compare the original equilibrium price and the quantity to the new equilibrium price and the quantity. Okay. Here, this is an example here. Use the four-step process to find the equilibrium. A pay raise for postal. This is an example. An example. Suppose that the workers of postal services got a raise. Okay. So a raise, it means incomes went up. Okay. Here a raise. Number one, draw a demand and supply model to illustrate what the market. Okay, here he's talking about the supply side, because when they get a raise, it means that the cost of production will increase, because it means high input prices because they are resources. Draw a demand and supply model to illustrate what the market for the United States Postal Service looks like before this scenario starts. The demand curve D and the supply curve S shows the original relationship. So here, this is D, this is S, so this is D. So originally, this is equilibrium. Okay. Will a pay raise for postal worker affect the supply or demand? Okay. According to him, it will affect the supply, because now the cost of offering postal services will go up. Okay, because now we are paying postal services more. As a result, the supply curve will shift to the left. Okay. So will a pay raise for postal workers affect supply or demand? Okay. Is the effect on supply positive or negative? It will be negative, moving to the left. Compare the new equilibrium with the old equilibrium. This is the new equilibrium, and this is the old equilibrium. If the price goes up, the quantity demanded and supplied decreases. Okay, because here he's looking at the cost of offering postal services. With the pay raise to the postal worker, the cost of offering postal service will go up. Okay, just like cost of production goes up of that service. As a result, supply will shift to the left. And as you can see, the arrow here is horizontal. Okay. Understanding how supply and how supply and the demand shift in a graph. Demand, the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded of a certain good or service. Quantity demanded, the total number of units of a good or service consumers are willing to purchase the given price. Quantity supplied, the total number of units of a good or service produced are willing to give. There is nothing new here. Okay, there is nothing new here. Understanding how supply and demand changes, shift in demand, when a change in some economic factors other than the own price causes a different quantity to be demanded at every price. The price is the same, but the quantity demanded is different. This is a shift in demand, either to the right or to the left, increase in demand or decrease in demand. Shift in supply is the same thing. When a change in some economic factors other than the price causes a different quantity to be supplied at every price, which was we said before. Supply is the relationship between the supply, the price, and the quantity supplied of a certain good or service. And this is the end of the chapter. Probably the last two slides were just a summary of the whole thing. Now, inshallah, next time I'm going to upload to you a video about the applications of demand and supply. The applications are harder than this simple theory, but I thought that because I am doing videos anyway, why not this one? Okay, so at least you have a complete course. By the time you graduate, you never forget me and you never forget anything, because these are basics that are of vital importance. Thank you very much. See you in another video. Bye bye.